Hey, my young gal here. Welcome to the Coffee Talkie Show, the podcast for women living abroad. And today we have a special guest with us, Christian. Together we will discuss the hilarious stereotypes and cliches of living abroad.
But first, let us introduce you to our guest, Christian Lobet, a former French expat in Toronto. He has created a fashion brand that cleverly twists French clichés in a playful manner. He relocated to Toronto a few years ago to improve his English language skills and was captivated by the city. With a long-standing interest in fashion and travel, it was no surprise that upon returning to Paris, he established French Abroad, a clothing brand with a travel team. Christian combined his personal expat experience, humorous encounters in Canada, and a desire to create positive conversation with new people to develop a brand that now is sold worldwide, appealing not only to French but also to French lovers. His success even got him to establish 2 pop-up stores at Galeries Lafayette.
We invite you to grab your coffee and notebook and give a big loving welcome to Christian.
Hi, Christian. So nice to have you here with us. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you, guys.
So we'll go straight in. Can you tell us a little about your personal experience with moving abroad?
Okay, so my experience abroad was in Toronto, in Canada, and it was the first time for me there. I've never been in Canada before that, and I didn't have any idea about the Canadian life, but I wanted to go there because for me it was looking like a bit like New York, and it was more cozy. I mean, less stressful than New York, and I wanted to try, and I really enjoy it. I was in a language school to improve my English, so I've met a lot of people from all over the world, and it was very big experience for me.
Oh, that's so nice. We love moving abroad. We love experiencing different cultures, different
And
lifestyles.
discovering new places.
Yeah. So, what were you thinking about Canadians and life in Canada before you actually went there?
I have no idea about Canadian life, really not, but that is why I wanted to go there because I wanted to discover new culture. The most surprising thing there was to see how they are polite. They were very polite. I mean, for example, when you push someone by accidentally in the street, he gonna ask, "Excuse me," first, you know. So it was very funny for me. And even if you cross someone in the street or in the subway, they will smile at you. And I even tried to do it when I came back in Paris, but it wasn't the same thing.
You can't mix Canadian style with French style. It doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
But did you had any like preconceptions or stereotypes or things you were thinking about Canadian before moving?
For me, they were more like Americans because it's North America. So I was thinking maybe they are like American, and I have been already in USA when I was younger. So for me, they were like a bit like Canada, like American, sorry, but they are totally different.
Moving to the next question, how do you think humor can be used to break down stereotypes and cliches?
Okay, for me, communication is the key to break down cliche and stereotype, and humor help to facilitate communication. So if you love self mockery, if you can make fun of you, I think people are gonna come with you easily. So you can communicate easily, and I think if you communicate with people to understand their culture, I'm pretty sure you can change your perception of them after communicating with them.
Oh, I love that. Communication is so important. And when we're making fun of it and turning the conversation into funny, sometimes ridiculous, making fun of ourselves, it does make communication easier. And we see it a lot of times when we approach a situation, feeling more light, smiling, making fun, it's easier.
Yes. And we know that we are dealing a lot with stereotypes and cliches of life abroad and French people. We're going to come to it in a moment, and Israelis, and generally speaking, expats. Even we have cliches about them as well. And humor is an excellent tool for that. So, can you share us a funny story about a situation in which others, probably when you were in Toronto, approached you in a certain way just because you were French?
Well, I didn't have this kind of experience. I mean, people didn't came to me because they have a perception just because I'm French. But the thing that I noticed is some funny fact. For example, when I meet someone and I tell them I'm from Paris, they will say, "Oh, what are you doing here? Paris is the best city in the world." Like, if just because I'm living in Paris, I can move abroad. Like, it was just this kind of things. So I think the cliche was most Paris is the best city in the world, so you don't have to go anywhere. But I mean, they didn't judge me just because I'm French. But it wasn't just this kind of sentence, funny sentence. If you come from Paris, what are you doing here? Why are you working hard to improve your English? You can improve your English even in Paris. Paris is the best city in the world. What are you doing here? So it was very, very funny for me. I didn't understand at first, but
I think, you mentioned judgment, that people weren't judging you, but I think cliches and stereotypes, sometimes they are judgment, but sometimes they're just, some assumptions. Uh, I think the most funny cliche is Emily in Paris style. All the women that come to Paris and they think just because they live in Paris, they should wear a beret, you know?
exactly. Yes.
What's it's not a judgmental thing, but it's like, do I have to wear a beret if I live in France, or do I have to, hold on the baguette here? Those those kinds of pictures, when we're looking at, from the side, it does look funny.
It's like when we moved to Paris, people ask, so do you see the Eiffel Tower from your window? And do you eat cheese and croissant and baguette
All day.
all day? So it's not a judgment, and I think that's the again, if we look at it in a fun way,
Yeah.
cliches and stereotypes are can be super fun, but it's part of those thoughts that we have prior to considering a place or people from there.
And it's not only judgmental, although it might sound like this.
Yeah.
We come from Israel, we were born in Israel, and the amount of time people asked me, what, do you have cars in Israel? Like, it's not all desert and you ride camels? And I'm like, no, no, not at all. But, and especially in the 90s, where we just arrived to France in the first time, I got this question so many times. Like, do you ride camels? I'm like, no, we have a car and buses and schools. And it's, but those cliches that, because it's in the Middle East, then yeah, we ride camels.
Yes, and also they think every people live in Paris. Like if you come from France, so you are from Paris. They didn't think about another city. So
Yes, you cannot come from somewhere else, right? It's like if you are in France, you are living in Paris, and it's it's a big thing. And I don't know how it was for you, but I studied with French abroad when I was in London, and I remember like it was, oh, you have this French accent. Can you speak English, Franglish? And I'm like, but I don't have this accent. It's not because I'm French that I like. But again, those are kind of the things that you hear from people around you.
yes, exactly, exactly.
So let's talk about you coming back from Canada to France and being a reversed expat, we call it. You're coming back and then you have to adjust again to the culture, to the people being less polite, maybe. So tell us a little bit about how you felt when you came back to.
When I came back, first of all, I was like a tourist because when I was in Toronto, people were telling me every time, "Oh, did you went to the Louvre? Did you see the Joconde? Did you went to this place, etc., etc." And I realized I didn't pay time to do it when I was in France because for me, moving in Paris was just for working or to have party, not really for visiting the city. And when I came back, I said myself that I'm gonna do all the best place in Paris. I mean, place that people love, and also because I kept in touch with them. We were following on social media, so I wanted to show them the city. So that's why I was visiting some nice place and to show them, oh, look at these guys, this place. So I'm doing also for you guys.
You became an ambassador, showing France to the world.
Yes, exactly.
I think you mentioned something really interesting, that when we live in a city, we're not tourists in the city and we don't see it the same way as tourists do. And I felt exactly the same because when I was visiting Paris for years, I came here to as a tourist, and I went to museum and spent time wandering in the streets and drinking cafe and wine. And when you live there, it's not that experience at all. And but it's so nice that you actually, took the time to enjoy the city you're living in.
So my friends from France were making fun at me because they were making fun at me because, for example, during the summer I was like, okay, guys, let's visit a museum, for example, and they were like, why? It's a sunny day. I don't want to go to a museum. What's wrong with you? But it was funny situation.
Because of the French in the summer, they leave Paris. They're never here.
Exactly.
There's no Parisian in Paris during July and August.
And also the other difference in Canada, I was used to stop at the red light because people there when they cross the street they stop, and I get used to it. And when I came back in France, I tried to do it as well at the beginning, but I was feeling different because people were just crossing the street like they want.
I will precise that you're talking about walking on the red light, not driving the red light.
Yes,
That's so true. When you're walking in Paris, no one is standing when there's a red light or they're crossing the street.
yeah, yes, exactly. Walking.
And do you remember when you lived in London? I came to visit you and I was walking and you said to me, "Stop! First, you need to look to the other side and you actually need to stop in the red light."
The bus will cross you over. He doesn't care.
Oh, yeah. So coming back home, to your home country can be really difficult if you lived, a year abroad or two or three, because you take some habits so quickly and so many things actually change. So I don't know how you prepared yourself before you moved to Toronto, but do you have any advices for people that are going to live abroad and want to maybe avoid falling into stereotypes and cliches?
I will say if you're planning to move abroad, don't be afraid to what's gonna happen to you. I mean, don't think too much. Just go, just feel your heart, and even if it's scary, and it's good because I think when something is scary for you in the life, it's a good sign that you have to do it because you're gonna improve yourself, and you're gonna be the better version of you. So yeah, I think you don't have to think too much about stereotype. Just try, and sometimes you're gonna be surprised because your perception is totally different of the reality.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think what you just mentioned is perfect. The perception that we have and the things that we read online and the experiences of other people's are not necessarily your own reality. So it's important to read it as funny anecdote and then go and experience it for yourself, because as we said, like, Canadians are not American, and not all Parisians are wearing berets, and not all French people are actually Parisian. And like, there are a lot of things that you will read online that create those stereotypes that we have before. But it's important to just, if you decide to go abroad, go for the experience and see
Yeah.
that it can be a bigger world than what you thought it might be.
Yeah, and I think, being open-minded about those things and not sticking to those stereotypes and think but be open-minded and discover new places, new cultures, new people, new ways of crossing the street. So we know you use some hilarious French cliches and stereotypes to develop your brand. So tell us a little bit how you came up with it and what do you do?
Okay, so when I was in the language school, one day we had to do an exercise, a group exercise, and we have to talk. We had to talk about our dream, what our dream for the future. And at this moment, I didn't have a dream really. I didn't. I just wanted to work I mean, continuing my studies and work in international business. When I did the exercise, I didn't want to tell, okay, I just want to work as an expert assistant. It wasn't really a dream for me. So I said, maybe one day I will create my fashion brand. And I remember the girl in front of me, she was from China. And she looked at me and she was, I mean, believing in me. She told me, you should do it, really, you should do it. If you like it, just do it. And it was for me the first time when someone believed in me, really the first time for me. And I remember the same day I was already checking on internet how to create a fashion brand. So I got this idea in my mind. And when I came back in Canada a few years after, I was alone. I came to work, and I was alone. I didn't have friends, so I had to create all that by myself. And I said, okay, what if I have something that show that I'm French and that I'm cool. I'm a cool person, and to attract people to me, because my first experience showed me that people love friends. They love talking about friends. They dream about Paris, etc. So I wanted to show that I come from Paris. So maybe people are gonna come to me easily. But I didn't want to show something that okay, I'm French and that's it. I wanted to bring something more funny, something that show that I'm French, but that can bring humor as well, because as I told you earlier, for me humor is the best way to create communication. And that's what I thought about French cliche, because there's a lot of French cliche, the cliche about the French. So there's a lot of things to do with that. And so this is how I got this idea to twist French cliche to make it funnier, even bad cliche, bad perception. I wanted to create something funnier to to bring the stereotypes.
I just love it that you use it to market yourself, to put yourself in front of others, and like you said before, make fun of yourself a little bit to open the communication. And that's beautiful. And I know you found some, like I said before, hilarious cliches. Can you give some examples of things that you used and what works best?
Some cliche, for example, I play with the arrogance, because this is the first cliche about the French. They say people say they're arrogant, so I choose this cliche by saying not arrogant, just French, because for me it's a way to say that we're not really arrogant. It's just a difference of culture. So sometimes, sometimes when you think some French are arrogant because they're frank, they talk frankly. It's just because in France it's like that. People don't. If they have something to say, they're gonna say it. It doesn't mean that necessarily that arrogant. So that's why I say that not arrogant, just French. Because for me, it's It's just a difference of culture. And also, I play with the English because our English is very bad in France. It's very, very bad. Even me, I know my English is not perfect, but I think it's the best way to communicate as well. Because if you see, for example, someone with a T-shirt where is wrote "Excuse my English," maybe the person in front of you when you're abroad will pay attention of what are you saying. He will say, "Okay, this guy is from abroad. I'm going to pay attention of what he's saying." I mean, it's helped people to communicate easily abroad, and yeah, this is the kind of sentence that I play with.
I love your new one about the strikes. I'm on strike today because this is so French.
Yes, not on strike today, but it's not really a cliche. It's more a fact.
Sometimes cliche become a reality.
Exactly.
You know, my favorite one is not arrogant, just French, because it's so accurate to reality, because it's a different culture. It's simply a different culture. And we lived in France, as kids and as teenagers, and we got some of this culture. And in Israel, everyone was always saying to me that I'm arrogant, snob, all this kind of thing. And before I moved to back to France a year and a half ago, one of my friends said to me, "How are you going to deal with this arrogance? Because here you're arrogant and special, and in France you're going to be just like everyone else." So, and I always say that that's really it's a cultural thing. It's not arrogance. It's being French. And I'm not French, but we took some of this culture.
Yeah.
Being an expat, you take what you love. Like you can be polite without being Canadian, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You can be arrogant without being French. So I love it. So you have a brand called French Abroad.
Yes.
Tell us where can we find your products and how people that are listening right now can buy your thing.
Okay, so you can buy my clothes on the website francophiles.com, and also have a shop in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. So you can also go there. And yes, there's a new collection that will come this spring. So I'm pretty excited about it.
We'll put the links to your Instagram and your website on the comments here. Please go and follow Christian. You're gonna love his clothes. We love it so much.
We are big fans.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. And I remember you came to see me at Galerie Lafayette, my first pop-up store. You came to see me, and I really appreciate that. Really.
We love we can see ourselves in this connecting through humor, and we just love what you do. So we have one last question for you, and that's a question we ask all our guests here on the podcast. What does a smooth and positive move abroad means to you?
Okay, so for me, it means moving with less stress possible. Just thinking of what you will get abroad and not think about the problem. For example, if you move abroad for a reason, for example, like I did to improve my English, you should focus on how you're gonna do to improve your English, and also what's gonna bring you in your life the fact that now you speak English. I took example from me, for example. So this is, I mean, for me, the best way to move with positivity and less stress possible, because you're gonna get something if you move abroad. You're gonna be another person, a better version of you. I think even if it's a bad experience, you're gonna learn from that. So I think it's the best way for me to move with positivity.
That's a great one. And if you focus on the results, on the outcomes that you want, instead of the problems that you might encounter on your way, you're gonna have a good experience.
Yes,
Absolutely, and you are going to become a better person, a better version of yourself. We see it so many times, even through the challenges.
yes,
And I think use humor, use humor as a way to communicate, as a way to put yourself out there. It's much more fun. So
sure.
Well, Thank you so much, Christian, for being here with us today on the Coffee Talkie Show. We enjoyed it so very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
And we look forward to future collaborations with you.
Yes.
Sure, yes. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
And go follow Christian and French Abroad on Instagram and visit his shop.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Christian, for being here with us today. And thank you for joining us on the Coffee Talkie Show, the podcast for women living abroad. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight, tips, and inspiration for your journey as an expat.
If you have any questions, comment, or suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to reach out to us via our website or social media. And if you loved what you heard today, please like, follow, and leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, sending positive vibes your way.